The U.S. is giving every indication that it will continue to push South Korea to pay more for keeping American troops on the Korean Peninsula. President Donald Trump said in a pair of tweets last Wednesday that Seoul has agreed to pay substantially more for U.S. defense against North Korea. He also added that talks to further increase South Korean payments to the U.S. have begun. But in fact, according to Seoul's foreign ministry, negotiations over the shared military costs haven't started yet. U.S. Defense Secretary Mark Esper, who visited Seoul last week for the first time after taking office, have also strongly hinted at the importance of hiking the amount of money South Korea pays for U.S. military protection, even reportedly bringing up the issue when he met with President Moon Jae-in. Watchers say the latest moves all come as part of American efforts to gain the upper hand in the upcoming negotiations for alliance cost sharing. The cost-sharing deal, officially known as the Special Measures Agreement, was first signed in 1991, aimed at evenly dividing the non-personnel costs of U.S. troops stationed in South Korea. It was originally renegotiated every 5 years. Last year's talks were particularly tough, with the Trump administration demanding Seoul double their $860 million annual contribution. The two sides failed to reach a deal by the December 31, 2018 deadline. But in the lead-up to the second North Korea-U.S. summit in Hanoi, they settled for a stopgap measure, with South Korea agreeing to pay about $926 million, an 8.2% increase from the previous year, and to renew the agreement annually. But now, according to South Korean media reports, Washington wants Seoul to pay up to $5 billion for hosting U.S. military forces, and White House National Security Advisor John Bolton is known to have relayed this message to his South Korean counterpart Jung Kyung-do during their meeting last month. It might be one of Washington's negotiating tactics, or their definition of cost could have been expanded without Seoul's consent, but whatever the case, $5 billion would be 5 times as much as what South Korea is currently paying, and it actually amounts to the entire cost for stationing American soldiers in the country. It's highly likely that the U.S. would ask to add more items to the cost-sharing deal, asking Seoul to pay for the cost of items that Washington had been burdening until now. Key examples could be the personnel cost or the deployment of strategic assets to the peninsula. But pundits here in the nation say it's important for Seoul to say no to things that will only cause trouble in the alliance. According to the New York Post, Trump, at a fundraiser on Friday, even joked about how it's easier to get $1 billion from South Korea than to get $114.13 from a rent-controlled apartment in Brooklyn, talking about his childhood memories as a boy to collect rent checks with his father. Experts advise that Seoul shouldn't be giving an impression of too easily giving in on things, and it's time to come up with a more comprehensive strategy to counter Trump's cost-effectiveness approach toward U.S. allies.